Well, there's an update in the Peng Shuai missing persons case. And this is a crazy story, guys, coming out of China. And we've been following this one on CBN and on FaithWire. And basically, this former tennis star from China accused a high-profile Chinese communist government official of sexual assault. Within minutes, that social media post disappeared, and then she disappeared as well. A few days later, an email surfaces and a statement surfaces allegedly from the tennis star saying, "I'm fine. I'm just resting at home. Can you guys please just email me and let me verify any stories before publishing further information?" It sounded very communist-esque. So Tré-Goins Phillips, Billy Hallowell joining me now to kind of discuss the latest on the story. The IOC has responded, guys, and listen to this, and then I want to get some reaction from you guys. We've got the IOC, of course, the Beijing Olympics coming up, and they say they've had a video call with Peng Shuai, and this is what they write. They say at the beginning of the call, she thanked the IOC for its concern about her well-being. She explained that she's safe and well. Apparently, they've not released the video of this call that I've seen yet. And they say she explained that she is safe and well living at her home in Beijing, but would like to have her privacy respected at this time. That is why she prefers to spend time with family and friends right now. This is nevertheless, she will continue to be involved in tennis, the sport she loves so much. And now there are videos released of her signing autographs, also of her at a restaurant where they conveniently are saying the date about 5 times on the video, audibly. Very odd. Odd behavior, guys.
Yeah, the entire thing is strange, and also noting that they have a close relationship with Beijing, apparently. So, you have people who themselves, there are questions, and not everybody's taking this and saying, we believe it. Here's my thing. If you're really that concerned, right, to me, the solution would be, I want to meet with her alone with nobody else and make sure she's okay. If she's willing to do that, go to her home, see her. It's a little strange to me that a video call would be set up and that there'd be no questions around any of the other elements that you've raised, that you've brought up here, that should be making alarms and bells go off in everybody's head. And again, for some officials, the WTA, for instance, people are not satisfied with this.
Yeah, and I said this on our FaithWire podcast earlier today, but the thing is with the IOC, it's the same situation with the World Health Organization. There seems to be this lack of intellectual curiosity when it comes to China. It's like, well, if they said it, we should just take their word for it. But we're forgetting that this is a communist country that intentionally hides information. They're blocking this information about this tennis player from even being accessible on the internet in China. And just a few minutes ago, actually, the Women's Tennis Association, they released a statement saying the IOC's interview, whatever, that's not enough for them. They said that does not clear any questions. If anything, it just raises more questions, and they're calling for a full and transparent investigation without censorship. And that's the thing that's troublesome. Is I don't know that they're going to get anything without censorship in China.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because all these updates that are supposedly proof that she's alive and well and doing fine, don't mention the fact that she went missing at all, or that they don't reference this story at all. So it just only adds to the suspicion. And guys, I want to play this clip here from CNN. Will Ripley, who actually does a really great job on a lot of reporting out of Asia and North Korea. He's done a lot of fine reports there. He talks about this case, and it's very interesting to see the Chinese censorship on this. Watch, take a look.
CNN's Will Ripley is live for us in Taipei with the very latest. Will?
Brianna, what's so puzzling about this video call is the stance that the IOC seems to be taking here. You had one official on the call just say she was so relieved to see Peng Shuai relaxed and doing so well, saying that was the IOC's main concern. But some critics are saying that, in fact, the IOC's main concern is not Peng, but profits.
So, Will, I want to explain to our viewers what's happening on our screen right now, because underneath your face, they can see a box, which is the actual live feed of this broadcast in China, but it's all color bars. And it went to color bars the minute you started talking. So what's going on here?
Yeah.
Chinese censors, John. I have lost count over the last 8 years here in Asia covering China of how many times CNN's coverage of controversial issues has been censored. It used to go to straight black. Now they've upgraded and they go to color bars. But nonetheless, it is a live, real-time example of the censorship that's happening in the mainland.
So super fascinating clip there, guys. And I just want to look back on this and watch what happens. See, there down in the corner there, you see it disappear. That is the live feed they have up. And you can see it starts. It's just a normal feed right now. And then the minute he starts talking, it goes to black. And then the color bars come up. And then that's what he references there at the end. You see the color bars. They are actively just turning off CNN to people in China when the topic of China comes up. That is unbelievable to me. That is incredible, incredible stuff to actually see it happen in real time.
I guess the question to me is, at what point is enough on all of this, right? When you talk about the way that, certain Muslim populations are treated in China, when you talk about human rights in general, forced abortion, for years the caps on children that they've had some movement on but have still not absolved, all of these things, they point to a need for obviously broader reform and pressure from the West, pressure from other countries who are profiting. I mean, lots of people are profiting off of this and looking the other way. What's so interesting about this case, though, is it's one person, right? It's not these broader, bigger issues. It's one person that seems to be getting more attention than most other things have. And so I'm interested to see how far people are going to push this. Will it impact the Olympics? Will it impact a bigger, broader swath of business opportunities in China? I hope so.
Yeah, and we put a lot of pressure on the NBA, for example, to stand up to China. But the truth is that we're all beneficiaries of China at this point. The vast majority of the technology we use, to the shoes we wear, whatever, a lot of it is made in China. So I think we all have a responsibility to speak out against this kind of censorship. These questions need answers as far as what's happening with this tennis player, Billy. Like you said, we need to ask questions about what's happening with the Muslim minority population, the persecution of Christians, the pastors who are just thrown in jail for no reason, the churches that are shuttered and we never hear an explanation about it, destructed churches torn down and we never hear answers about it. So these are questions that I think we all need to be raising, and I think that's the best way to address this is for all of us to use the leverage that we have, even if it's just our small communities, our family members, and talk about these issues, because that's the only way that we're going to get answers, is if there's enough pressure with enough people consistently demanding information.
Yeah, and you look at the IOC in particular, and you got the Beijing Olympics coming up, and the timing of this in this really tepid statement, and actually the WTA sort of came out and sort of criticized the fact that the IOC was incredibly passive on their response. And given the track record of China, as we talked about, sweatshops and rounding up Muslims and putting them in re-education camps, this is a government, guys, that actually thought it was positive and in their interest to allow the BBC to come in and see these so-called concentration camps. And they were like, look, it's not like a prison. Can people do art in prison? And the reporter's like, yeah, if they're not allowed to go, it's a prison. It doesn't matter if they're doing art or not. So this is a country that they thought that was a good thing, a good look for them, and that it would clear it all up. Or sending this note saying that, Peng Shuai is out there completely just chilling and relaxing, and everyone was just going to buy this. It's pretty absurd to think that they actually, think that this will fly. But I guess when you're used to controlling the information and you're not used to having to deal with any real pushback, that's the case. And again, the other thing I'll throw in here, guys, this is a country that is essentially responsible for lying at the beginning of a global pandemic that originated, by all accounts, in China. And there's a lot of questions surrounding that. And so you have all of these things swirling, and to have that lack of curiosity from the media at large, there are some who are kind of calling this out and saying this looks awfully suspicious. But it makes you wonder why anyone would give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at this, of course they're going to continue behaving this way. Nobody has held them accountable until recently. America really didn't put much pressure on them. The last administration, lots of different opinions about the last administration, but it was something that came up very frequently about China, for better or for worse. It came up, and no matter how we want to look at how it was presented, I do think we're seeing some of that happen again right now with the Biden administration also saying that there may be somewhat of a boycott of the Olympics. There may be some pressure, but it can't just be words. There has to actually be pressure because, as Tré was saying, we're all beneficiaries of this. But guess what? China's also a beneficiary of all the business and all the money that's flowing in. And so at some point, the hope, I would imagine, and I'm not an expert on how this all works economically with China, but you would assume that pressure would affect them. If we're going to say we're pulling these things back, people are going to pull games out of your country, sports are going to leave, business is going to leave, that there could be a forced hand and a change, at least to some degree, in how they're treating their own people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about echo chambers here, like whether it's the news media or, whatever, but China is like the ultimate in an echo chamber, right? I mean, that makes sense of why they let the BBC in with open arms saying, well, we think this is great. Why wouldn't it be great? Because they exist completely in an echo chamber. And to Billy's point, we do need something more than words because something has to puncture that bubble. Right? There needs to be some sort of economic pressure, some outside force that's making its way in diplomatically or whatever. But like I said, like Billy said, I'm also not an expert, but there needs to be something that is a tangible indication that their behavior is not acceptable to the Western world.
Can I make one more quick point about the pandemic? Because I've been in a lot of conversations with people who will say, well, what do the origins matter? Who cares? The pandemic is here and we're suffering as a result of it. Well, the origins matter for this precise reason, because if it happened once, it could happen again. And the fact that there's been so much secrecy, here we're talking about one person's story and it matters and her safety matters and all of that. But again, as you were saying, Dan, we're dealing with a global pandemic. And the country within which this began, has concealed every detail of that. That is an international issue. It is not something to flippantly say it doesn't matter. This absolutely matters. And clearly the health and safety of the world is actually, at stake here. Yeah.
And it would be nice to see all the people that are crying out for justice all over the place. And, Atlanta and Texas and all these. It'd be nice to see that also applied here as well when it comes to China, which by all accounts is one of the bigger abusers of human rights in all of the world. And so hopefully, people can put aside those interests like the Olympics or money and then actually stay consistent on that. And so that's something we can hope for on both sides of the aisle. So all right, guys, thanks for joining to discuss it, and we'll talk to you again soon.